I know this is true for me. Be very, very clear about what I want and focus your attention on what you want, not what you don't want. Whenever I start to worry about things going south, that's when your attention goes that way, that's where your energy goes. That's absolutely what happens.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Championship Leadership Podcast. We got Devon Johnson here out of Nashville. What's up?
Yo.
Excited to have you here. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but I always like to ask this question first to start us off. Championship Leadership is the name of the podcast. What comes to mind for you? What do you think of when you hear championship leadership?
Well, I think of your event. That's
yeah.
That comes to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. The Unleash the Leader Within that you came through. When was that? When did you come through?
Was it August?
August last year, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
2022. Yeah. Yeah. Man, seems like a long time ago now. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago though. But yeah, you came through in August, had no idea what you're getting into. And at the same time, I think it was pretty awesome for you. You dominated.
It was incredible for me. And I definitely had no idea what I was getting into. Do you want me to tell this story now?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I mean, sure.
So I had a couple of these really big deals that I'd been working on for 8-9 months, just fell apart. The bottom fell out. I was feeling like I got kicked right in the gut. And a friend of mine suggested that I go to your event, to the ULW event. And I didn't know what it was, but I trusted this friend of mine. His name is Chris Robinette. And I said, okay, if you think it'll be good for me, I'll go. But I had no idea what I was getting into. So I show up and immediately it was like, oh, this is intense. This is like military style immersion. I was being told right away to do planks and push-ups and stuff, get in line. And I'm looking around and there's just big dudes in the room and me with my lashes and my hair and my nails.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this is not where I belong. I never would have been to that.
Right.
And then when I figured out what was happening with the second day, with the physical day where we were doing all the, what do you call them? Evolutions?
Evolutions? Yeah, evolutions. Yeah.
I still don't know what's going on. When I figured out what was happening the second day, I went home that night and I just made peace with the fact that I was going to be on the bottom. These dudes are a lot bigger than me. I don't lift a ton, and made peace with that because I'm a very competitive person. I like everybody to win. And if it's between me and you, I really
yeah.
I can. But I just made peace. This is going to suck. You're going to lose. You're going to be in the bottom, and just make it through the day. And then what happened is I came in second overall. I schmucked those.
You did great.
At the end of the day, crawling through the mud, they're crying, and I'm just look at me. And it was so incredible for me because I had no idea that was in me. I knew I was kind of that life had made me a tough cookie, but having that kind of strength as an identity, I had no idea that was there. My friends that were your assistant coaches, they didn't know it was in either. I think I shocked all of us. So it was incredible.
It was awesome though. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, yeah, I didn't expect to start off that way, but that's okay. That was good. And yeah, that's championship leadership right there. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit of your journey, however far you want to go, and what it is that you're up to today, because I know there's some big things that you are up to today. So
yeah. So I my entrepreneurial journey started, I mean, really when I was a kid. I was always looking for something I could do for somebody in the neighborhood, babysit, carry in your groceries. I just had that strong drive early on to kind of, if there was something that I wanted, I was going to figure out a way to, to go get it, to make it happen. And, one of my first successes was in the retail business. I grew a chain of retail stores to quite a few locations. I sold those. That was, gosh, maybe like 10 years ago.
What was that?
Oh, I had a chain of gourmet food stores.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that about me.
No, I don't know that. Yeah.
It's been a long time, but my passion for like cooking and entertaining and a lot of that was channeled into that business. And honestly, I was forced to sell. It wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do, but that was what needed to happen at the time. So I sold, and then I had some capital, decided to buy a house to renovate it, and decided during that project, like, I think I'm going to go into real estate next. I had no previous experience in real estate, really no idea what I was doing. Flipping that house took me forever. I laid like 1,600 square feet of tile by myself with my own two hands, crying on the phone with my dad and watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out what I was doing. Learned a ton and got my real estate license. And I started working as a residential agent, just started knocking on doors to get leads. And then I built a property management company, ended up selling that a couple of years later. And I worked primarily with investors. I lived in a second home market. So there was a lot of like Airbnbs and long-term rentals, and really developed an affinity for working with investors. I had a good eye for, seeing what a property could be worth with a little blush and mascara, and did some flips for clients, would manage their property. And I did really, like on paper, I did really well at that.
Yeah.
Considering the town that I lived in, I was making a pretty decent income, and I had no boundaries in my life. It was like sucking the life out of me. I was on call all the time, a one-woman show for the most part. So I was super burned out and got a sign from God to move to Nashville, which I followed.
Yeah, you did? Yeah. What was that?
It was an owl.
Really?
Have I told you this story?
I don't think so. I'm learning all kinds of awesome new stuff here.
So God speaks to me in birds and feathers all the time. Like,
okay. I do remember you saying that now that you say that. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. So an owl?
An owl. Yeah. I was in this restless period. I wasn't happy with my business. I knew I wasn't going to stay. I was living in Southern Missouri. I knew I wasn't going to stay there. But I wasn't sure like what was next, what to do. And I was driving down the road with a girlfriend of mine her name is River. She's like a total earth muffin.
I love it.
Girl. So I'm sharing with her. Nashville started just like popping up at magazines, TV shows, stuff like that. So I was sharing with her, I think I might want to move to Nashville. And as soon as I said that, she jerked the car over and said, there's an owl on the side of the road, like a dead owl. And hippie friend, she's like, we got to get proper burial. Whatever. So we get we get this bird, put it in my trunk, take it home, do the hippie stuff with the bird, give it a burial. The next day I text a buddy of mine in Nashville, hey, I think I want to come out there for a visit. And he said, I just bought a house. I have a room for you. Just move. You would love it. Blah, blah, blah. Text me pictures of his new place. The first picture, he's like, this is my favorite thing in the new house. It was an antique drawing of an owl. Yeah.
Wow.
So I got the spirit bumps all over and was like, okay. And shut down my business, threw my clothes and my books in the back of a truck, and moved to Nashville with like no idea what I was doing next.
How long ago was that?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd completely lost my mind
Yeah, right.
or, what. So, but I followed the sign and came here to Nashville. Wasn't sure what I was going to do for a little bit. And then, ended up, I got a spam email one day from a marketing company that was hiring. And I wanted out of real estate at that point,
Yeah.
to be honest. I was so burnt out. I was like, I want to do something else. So I got hired for this consultancy to do sales. And I was excited to try something new. Come to find out, they had just started a real estate division of their business. And they were buying vacation rental properties in Branson, Missouri, where I had just moved from.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Which, not a coincidence.
Yeah, right.
So I started working for that real estate company, raised money for their fund. I did all of their investor education, built out the disposition systems, and helped scale that company to where I was doing, like 25 sales a month by myself.
Yeah. Wow.
Very efficient. And then when my time there ended, I started doing my own big deals, like raising money for my own big deals, putting together bigger projects, some of which fell apart last summer when the market shifted, which is when I met you. Yeah. And doing consulting for larger operators in all different asset classes of real estate, so, facilitated a business sale. Mm-hmm. And just recently, I've launched an investment club.
All that brought you here to this, right? Like led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Which is what again?
It's called the Capital Club. It's an investment club. So over the years, what I've learned is there's so many people are reaching out to me like, hey, Devon, can you help me raise capital for this project? Do you know anybody who might want to invest in this? And then I know tons of investors, high net worth individuals, even like funds of funds that they have capital to deploy, and they really don't know how to find good opportunities, or realistically, they don't have the time to do it. So what I've created is a service where essentially once a week, I'm sharing a deal that myself and my team, we've gone through the due diligence. We're very aware of what the risks are, what the upside is. And we get, hundreds of opportunities sent to us every quarter. So we whittle those down to one opportunity a week. And they're not just real estate. Some are like venture capital opportunities and startups for medical tech. Or I shared a deal a couple of weeks ago that was for a cannabis company. It's not everybody's favorite vertical. I have no opinion if you smoke it. I don't. Yeah. But it was a really unique opportunity for somebody who has some risk capital. And then we also have opportunities that are, they're very boring real estate deals that are about as stable as you can get.
Yeah. 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 And that's awesome. And how's that been going?
It's been incredible. As soon as I hardly told anybody.
Yeah. Right.
I barely told anybody and just kind of made one little post like, hey, I'm going to open the doors for the first 25 seats in this club. And they were full within like a week. Yeah. Really fast, which has been incredible. And I've heard from quite a few people, like, I've been waiting for you to do something like this for years. Please, like, share, teach, speak. And so that's what I'm doing. That's part of why I'm here too.
Yeah, like, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess I should put myself out there a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Let me know what I'm doing.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. And it's awesome. Who have been some of the people along that journey of yours that have really stood out to you as, leaders, coaches, and mentors, and more so like, yes, people that have impacted you, but like, what is it about them? Like, what are some characteristics that have stood out to you as leaders, since this is a championship leadership show, that have helped mold who you are as a leader?
Yeah. One of the integrity is probably the outstanding characteristic.
Yeah.
When somebody does what they're say they're going to do, when their words and their actions are in alignment. That's something that like Devon values. And I think also like as a woman, security is one of my largest emotional needs for most women. I think we feel that way. So anybody that's in like a leadership position, in order for me to put my trust in you, which is that's what a leader is basically asked, is for the people that are following them to trust them.
Yep.
Surrender a little bit to their leadership. And in order for me to feel safe to do that, like I have to know that you mean what you say. And also that you care how I feel. That's another like,
that you actually care.
Yeah. And I've had some leaders that they've had an incredible impact on me for some of the things that I learned from them. And some of what I learned is like, I don't want to be like.
Yeah. So you've learned like what not to do from certain people, right? Yeah. There's lots of people that have that same answer, I guess you'd say. There's plenty of people that we can learn from that were terrible leaders that were like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure that I don't do that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to name, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus.
No. Yeah.
Not live anyway. But I can think of a couple of people that I'm amazed by a lot of things that they built and created in business or in other areas of their life. And I can extract the things that I want to, to learn from those individuals, and accept like, I'm not willing to do it the way that you do it. I think for me also, like an outstanding characteristic of leaders that have had a huge impact on me and ones that I choose to follow is kindness is one of their core values. They genuinely care about people, which I think it's probably the difference between like a leader and a dictator.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah.
They both would have people following them, but a true leader, like people will voluntarily be like, oh yeah, I want on your bus. And I'm surprised. I didn't know how many people wanted on my bus.
Yeah.
Until I won.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, a part of leadership definitely is putting yourself out there and taking some risk and chance. And when you do that, you see that there's maybe a lot of people out there that were waiting for you to do it. Right. I think like right now, I always say that, these times we're in, I think there's a lot of people looking for great leaders. Like we need more incredible leaders than we ever have before in my time. And, so it's awesome that you finally decided to step up and do that. And then you're like, oh, actually, there were some people waiting on me. So you make a huge difference by doing that, by taking the courage to take that step in action. So what's the vision for you? Where do you want to go with the investment club? I know it's like you said, it's very new. You just launched it and have had some great success here early on, a lot of momentum. And I know you're looking to continue that and grow it, but what's the vision for where you want to take it?
Yeah, the next couple of steps really are just to grow the membership, and I'm getting a lot of new amazing opportunities for incredible deal flow are coming to me as well. Now that I've kind of put it out there, I had a ton of deal flow already, but like my vision with what I want to create is a fun place for people to be able to see opportunities that they can choose to invest in or not, where they really feel like they understand what is going on. A lot of talking about with like the current climate, and a lot of people are like, they're scared. What is going to happen in the economy? I have some capital. I want to put it someplace safe. I'd like to grow it. I don't know who to trust. So my vision is really to solve that problem. And I don't want thousands and thousands of members in this thing. We're gonna keep it capped so that people can really get concierge level service. I want to know, I want somebody on the team to know, like, what is going on in everybody's life. What is your motivation for wanting to invest this money? I hate my job and I want to be able to quit. Like a doctor who's got a young family and is burnt out because he's working entirely too many hours, could leverage that income so that he doesn't have to work those crazy hours forever.
Yeah.
So like solving that problem for people is my fuel, my vision.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
I continue to do my big projects and raise money for those alongside, and I'll share them with my members first. But providing that service to the people that need it. Like, you need to have capital to invest.
Right.
It's not the place for somebody who's making, who's barely scraping by, but
totally. Right. Yeah. It's for the investor. Like you said, that actually is ready to invest.
Yeah. And for those members also to be able to learn along the way. So every week when we break down a deal and we're going through the due diligence, there's a lot of explanation of like what this means, why, what are the benefits and the risks with any particular asset class? What is the difference between like a multifamily investment versus a self-storage investment versus, unsecured debt that's more of venture capital, angel investing in a business startup? Because everybody's risk tolerance is different. And some people, like, they don't really know what they want. They think they know what they want. They want to buy an Airbnb. And then it's like, do you have any idea how much work actually goes into that? What they want is they want a certain return,
right.
And there's a lot of ways to accomplish somebody's goals. So to help guide them in the different opportunities that are available to meet those goals.
Yeah. I love it. It's exciting. So it's fun to see. It'll be even more fun to see as you go and you start to see the deals start to happen. Right. And people start to get some incredible results and then it'll really, really take off. Right. So,
yeah. Well, and just seeing the feedback that I'm getting so far from the first 25 members that we have. And I'm already getting tons of referrals. I'm about to open the doors for the second round of members. I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. So I don't need to throw gasoline on a fire. Make sure, open the doors in groups.
Yeah.
Get everybody in warm and fuzzy, and then we can open the doors again.
Yeah. No, it's great that you're doing it that way for sure. Well, let's switch gears here real quick, because I like to ask this question. And I'm guessing what everyone does, but I know you do as well. Think of like a critical moment in your life, kind of a fork in the road. And I always like this question because, I think the listener is probably in this moment themselves and they're trying to figure out which way to go, right? Like, what do I do? You always want to know the answer before you make the decision, right? That would make life so much easier, I guess. But reality is you don't ever really know. So obviously you made the decision that you have, which has you here today. But had you made a different decision, you could be in a very different place. Is there a moment that comes to mind for you could share?
There's so many.
Yeah. How many? Where do I start?
I mean, there's not just a fork in the road. There's like an entire silverware drawer.
Right.
I think I had one over the weekend that I was sharing with you about, but I would say, the biggest fork in the road was about 9.5 years ago. And I was physically, morally, and spiritually bankrupt, dying of alcoholism and addiction. And I made a choice to surrender.
Mm.
And that's really what drastically changed my life. Like I'd had quite a bit of on paper success before that point, my retail business and all of that, but I was absolutely miserable in surviving my life. And I, it was divine intervention. I don't know that it was really anything that I did, but there was a moment of curiosity where I thought maybe life could be different. And I just chose to stop fighting. And
Well, what happened? What happened?
I mean, I got sober. My whole life changed.
Did you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm done?
No, it wasn't like that.
So, what was it like?
Well, I had, like, with my own willpower, I had been trying to quit and just couldn't stay quit. And at the time when, like, I had my last drink, I was in and out of the hospital like 3 times in a week. Like, I was dying. The last time in the emergency room, my blood alcohol was like 0.67. Like, there's no reason that I should be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was, my family, I don't think they were really expecting me to make it to 25.
Yeah.
Let alone where I am now, which I will not close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is that?
I'm 30. I'm 39. I'm 39.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Yeah. But I was in and out of the hospital, I think, like 3 times that week. And the third time, they sent me to the nut house. And, actually something did click that time, because the fog was lifting. I was detoxing and I was looking around, and I was like, a bunch of highly trained medical professionals believe that I belong in here. Yeah. And it hit me that like, I wasn't a bad person, that I was a very sick person, and I didn't know how to fix this. And so, I sought help and started on, I surrendered like everything in my life. I started on a spiritual journey, which I was not expecting. I would have called myself really like atheist at that point. I didn't have any kind of a spiritual life connection with a God or spirit of the universe, whatever you want to call it. I didn't have any of that in my life until then. And it wasn't, that connection didn't come like right away. It took a few years for me to really get it. There was another fork in the road point. I was about 3 years sober and was kind of stagnant in my life, was surviving my life again, was pretty miserable. And a friend of mine suggested that I go on an ayahuasca journey. Yeah. And I was so scared, because like I knew that I was not willing to drink again. Like, that was not going to happen. I was going to blow my brains out first before I ever went down that path. And the thought of like trying the plant medicine, absolutely, I mean, it terrified me. But that really is what blew the lid on my spiritual life. And people that have known over the last 10 years since I've been on this journey would tell you that, like, I'm a very, very different, even, in the period that I've been sober, like, I'm a much different person now than I was before then.
Sure. Yeah, definitely believe that. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear everyone's story, for sure. What's as we wrap this up, what's 1 or 2 things for the listener that if they implement today would help move their life forward today?
Number 1 is be very, very clear about what you want. If you I know this is true for me. Be very, very clear about what I want and focus your attention on what you want, not what you don't want. Whenever I start to worry about things going south, that's when your attention goes that way, that's where your energy goes. That's absolutely what happens. Yeah. And sometimes that can be a challenge for somebody who, if you're prone, have a history, a habit of having a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
It can be a hard habit to break, but be absolutely clear about what you want and focus on that. Also, this is a lesson that I think has become very clear to me in just the last few days, is also very clear about what you will and won't tolerate from yourself in your relationships, whether those are personal or professional. But if you don't have standards, you'll break them.
Yeah.
You know? And I think like the standards that you set for yourself are more important than the ones that you set for other people. If I compromise with me, I will always compromise with you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And lastly, this might be a weird thing to say to a bunch of leaders that are listening to this, but surrender.
Yeah.
And maybe that will speak more to the women. I don't know. But every time I choose to like lay my weapons down, things just kind of naturally, magnetically unfold for me. When I'm fighting something that's not working, not going the way that I want it to, I cut myself off from seeing what other opportunities and possibilities might be there. If I'm trying to force something too much, maybe there's a reason that you're going against the grain. And I know there's tons of people pushing like hustle culture, like push, grind. If a door's in your way, kick it down. And I think there's a time when, maybe you do need to kick a door down, but if you live in that all the time, it's like guaranteed burnout.
Right. Yeah. 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 No, I think we could all, I'm sure that, not just for women, but men as well. I mean, there's plenty of things in our life that we probably are continuing to try to force or whatever, or that we're in a battle with and haven't been able to figure it out, or, and sometimes oftentimes that's what is missing, right? Just the need to surrender to whatever it is, the process or the thing to get there. Yeah.
Unless you got a man in army pants yelling at you to do push-ups, burning in the face of the hose.
That's right. No surrendering then. Well, you got to surrender to the moment, right? You just got to accept it. I think that's the biggest thing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, you just got to embrace it. And once you do that, once everybody does that, we can see that too, right? Then, that's essentially you're surrendering. You're not fighting with reality. You're just like, all right, we're here. We're going to do this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. So again, what would be the best way for someone that wants one of those rare opportunities to potentially get to be a part of the club, the exclusive club? How would they get a hold of you?
Probably one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me would be meetwithdevon.com is a booking link. Somebody can book a 30-minute call. If they listened all the way through this, they should know whether or not it's
right.
And I'll get some information for the show notes too, like maybe a link to a brochure, but meet with Devon, DEVON.com. It's my calendar.
Yeah, we'll get that linked up too for them. So awesome. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nate.
You bet. And don't go anywhere here, listener. If you loved this episode, stay right here. We got more to come. Next episode coming up. Have a great day.